Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Are you ready? Are you ready?
Yo, what up, what up? It's your boy Rabino.
And this DJ in the building.
And you listening to the UpNUp Podcast.
Yeah.
Wait, what are we doing?
I don't know, just listen.
Yes. Welcome.
What it do?
Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned into the UpNUp Podcast. I'm your host, Rabino.
And I'm DJ man.
What's up, boss?
What's up, bro?
How you doing? I'm doing, you beat me to it. I'm doing well, man. I'm feeling blessed, feeling highly favored, feeling great.
That's what's
How
up,
about yourself?
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, man.
Feeling the same way.
Okay, man.
Yeah.
For sure. It's a great energy in the building right now. Great energy in the room, for sure. For those of you first-time listeners, this is the UpNUp Podcast. This is the podcast where we're focused on cultivating culture, right?
Yep.
We do that by providing amazing stories, powerful stories
Yep.
of individuals, groups, movements, right? Hustlers, shakers, movers,
Yep.
grinders.
Come on,
You
keep
know what I
going,
mean?
keep going.
Lane carvers. That's a new one. Yeah, all that, man. All that. And we're just here to drive inspiration for the culture, obviously. If this is your first time listening, please, we urge you to continue supporting the podcast. You can do that by typing in the UpNUp Podcast on SoundCloud, YouTube, and iTunes. Make sure to rate, review, subscribe.
I like it too.
Show
Yeah.
some love. Yeah, man. Also, I also just want to throw it out there, man. Just want to send a happy birthday to Nipsey Hussle. Had to throw that out there to the room, for sure, man.
Yeah.
For sure, man.
Always.
But yeah, man, moving forward, I do want to also urge the consistent listeners and the viewers, thank you guys as well for the support, the encouragement. Not just towards us as a platform and as hosts, but just the guests that we have on this show, man. The energy is felt, man. If y'all don't know, I'm going to let you know right now. The people who come on this show, they definitely appreciate the energy you guys are giving them. To continue following the movement, you can follow us on all social media platforms @_the UpNUp to stay tapped in. I'm excited for what's to come this year.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
A lot of great things. Also, a very urgent announcement at UpNUp Clothing.
Yes.
Actually, @_UpNUp Clothing. Make sure to go follow that page.
Yeah.
But why should they follow that page, Herm?
Because, bro, it's just dope.
Okay.
No, but I'm saying.
Aside from that.
Yeah, well, first I want to shout out everybody who made a purchase and supported us. We are sold out.
What?
Yeah.
I know. I'm acting like I don't know.
We're sold out right now. That was dope. I like that. But yeah, we are sold out. So, but we will be coming back. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned, man. But again, shout out to everybody who did support the early launch of the store, man. We appreciate you guys. Continue staying on the UpNUp in style, right?
Yep.
Now, getting that out the way. Any other announcements? You know, I'm gonna ask you in case you're holding something in. No?
Go ahead, man. I'll let you do it. I'll let you do it.
Nah, for sure. For those of you first-time listeners, just to give you some context, the purpose of the show, obviously, is to provide context to the success of those that we bring up here. We bring up, guests who are going to give amazing stories, powerful, inspirational, motivational journeys, right? And today's guest, I would say, is a woman whose demonstration, I would say, is laying the foundation that's needed for a better tomorrow, right? For all of us, right?
Yeah.
I would say she's a true leader who's doing everything she can to stay on the up and up, right? Obviously, otherwise she wouldn't be in the building. You know what I mean? And to kind of give you some insight on some of the work she's been able to do thus far, she's been able to impact communities through her countless work, helping uplift youth as well as women across the world. Just kind of give you some insight on some of the stuff she has done as well. She's excelled in the sport of basketball. She's a hooper.
Yeah, for real.
She's excelled in the sport of basketball, landing her a spot to actually play for the Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah.
Right? That's not a small feat. That's real deal.
Not at all.
Also, aside from that, again, speaking to the work she does in the community to help uplift our youth, she was an acting career readiness program manager. Am I correct?
Yep.
For TAF, Technology Access Foundation. TAF, obviously, if you don't know, located here in Federal Way, Washington. To give you some insight on TAF, is it 5th through 12th grade?
It's actually K through 12.
K through 12.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No,
okay.
good.
Whew, start them young, baby.
Starting them real young.
K through 12 STEM Academy, which aims to provide proper learning, resources, and pathways for underrepresented youth in the fields of STEM. And she is also here to discuss a new launch of a company known as Inner Enso. Did I pronounce that right?
Inner Enso.
Inner Enso, which is a company that is focused on promotion of women, healing, events, and so much more, right? Our guest is none other than the boss lady and marathon runner herself, Shaunte Nance. Can we get a round of applause? yes. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I feel super blessed to be here. I'm so serious. As I started to hear the intro, I instantly started to feel like that vibe and that energy. So it was just beautiful. I started to pray and just, man, I can already feel it. It's so bomb to be in the midst of this.
We appreciate you.
Heck
We appreciate
yeah.
it.
Bless up for real, man. Definitely. And this is actually we've been talking about doing this show for a little bit of time now, right? So I'm glad,
Absolutely.
you speaking into existence, right? Spoke some things into the universe and they appeared. Here we go.
Yeah.
To kind of give you some insight, obviously you're probably already familiar with the show. We usually start the show with the quote of the day, right? Quote man across the way. What you got for us?
All right, man. So the quote of the day today is, if you always put a limit on everything you do, physical or anything else, it will spread into your work and into your life. There are no limits. There are only plateaus. And you must not stay there. You must go beyond them.
Feel that.
Who said that?
Guess.
Master P?
Nah. It rhymes, though. Bruce Lee.
I just
I
heard-
was about to say.
Oh, wow. Okay. I said that because of the no limit part. I was like, okay, that's Master P
yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
Okay,
No, that was a
shout
good
out
guess.
Bruce Lee.
Yeah,
Bruce Lee.
shout out Bruce Lee, though.
Go ahead and run that back for the people in the back. who are snoozing.
Yeah. So if you always put a limit on everything you do, physical or anything else, it will spread into your work and into your life. There are no limits. There are only plateaus. And you must not stay there. You must go beyond them.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Quote man. Does it again, man. Now, obviously, we bring in the quotes, Shaunte, because they're powerful quotes, right? Sets the tone of the conversation, but it also ties into our guest story. And I kind of like where it talked about certain plateaus and how life, I see it as like a series of moments, right? Like you might do one
Absolutely.
thing and then that moment might end and then it's time to start a new moment, right?
Absolutely.
But before we can kind of get into currently what you're doing, which is a lot, I would love to kind of take it back to kind of the early upbringings. Again, we pulled the curtain back here. So where did it really start for you? Where did you grow up? And kind of how did that, I guess, start your journey?
Well, to even start that journey, I have to give reference first to God. Like, that's where it all starts.
Facts.
And then I have to reference my ancestors and the people that have done the work well before me to even get me to this standpoint.
That's facts.
And then just being a woman of color and just being a woman of integrity, I have to honor my husband. We're 14 years in the game this year. And so
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
That's real.
to me, that's when you talk about those plateaus and those starts, it's like I feel like that's where I kind of started to know and become a woman, is when I started to meet my king. So it was really
inspired right
dope.
now.
Wow, I know, for real.
It was really dope.
Yeah.
But to kind of take it really, really far back, I like to at least share a tiny bit of where the Lord has brought me from. I was raised by a mother who had me at 15 years old, and just a single mother. My father left and was in prison like moments, I guess during my birth, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And so, you start off, we talk about the cards, what are the cards that you're dealt? I'm already dealt, a negative hand from society standpoint, And so being raised by a single mom, young mom at 16 years old, and then had my brother at 18 and then gets kicked out the house because my family was a Christian family and was like, you know what, if you can do this thing and you're an adult, go do it. And so I'm 18, my mom's 18 years old, raising 2 children on welfare. Same hood story. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no difference. Like, my story's not greater than another's, but it is my story.
It is yours, yeah.
Exactly.
What area did you grow up in?
East Side, Hilltop, Tacoma.
Okay.
Let me just say this: Tacoma, straight up.
Okay, there you
like
go. There you
Tac
go.
Town,
Yeah,
straight
yeah,
up,
for sure.
253.
For sure.
It was 206 before Seattle stole it, so let's just put that on the air. No, but yeah, raised by a young mom, family, and just to speed it up a tiny bit, I lost who I thought was my father at 4 years old, and then my mother at 12 years old, 3 days before my birthday, and my mother was actually buried on my birthday. So you're talking about lows, plateaus, falls.
Yeah.
It's just constant, like, so my mother passes away. She actually died of AIDS. So that's another black,
Yeah. Yeah.
what is it called? Man, what's that word? But anyway, another huge story in the black community,
Yeah, yeah.
just back in the 80s.
Yeah.
So that's that. Come later, at 12 years old, that's when I just decided, like, I'm going to have to be successful because there's not going to be anybody around for me to help me get there. But
For
I was
sure.
thankful that I was raised by my grandparents who
Okay.
were praying people. And so my spirituality and my roots come from my grandparents. And from that point on, that's when I just decided, like, you know what, I'm going to use every single tool, every single opportunity, every teacher, every moment, every quote, every story to make sure that I was going to be successful in whatever that looked like. And so that's kind of where, to me, my journey at 12 kind of similar to, you know, Jesus Christ. You know, it's like when you become a man and when you become a woman is when you start to find that spiritual journey. And that's when mine kind of started, when I was like, I'm tired of the bad. I'm ready to have some good.
Yeah, no, that's real, especially to be that young and to kind of turn that switch on, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a lot, you know, and to go through, and I think it could be very discouraging, right? Even hearing about it, you know, can be discouraging. So definitely, you know, appreciate the strength, man, for real.
Absolutely.
That's a lot to go through. But what, I guess, and I know we always talk about this, but kind of what was that thing that may have drawn you, like to kind of, you know, some people use, we had the homie Esam on the show a while back, and he's an artist, poet, rapper, and he said when he was going through some tough times early on with his mom and whatnot, it was music, it was rap that kind of helped him like express the shit he was going through. For you, what was that thing, I guess?
Put the round thing in the brown thing in the round thing. That's what mine was, man.
For sure.
I just found a natural app for being an athlete. You know, the determination to change your life. It's really similar to just being an athlete in the just do it kind of Nike mentality, right? It's like you just got to put your mind to it. And so that physical exertion and expression came through, you know, my crossover. It came through my step back. You know, like everything I did, my defense. It was all, you know, outwardly it probably just looked like a game. You know what I mean? But they didn't know that I was actually fighting for my life. You know, that being in the gym, you know, it was honored that I was there first or there last, but honestly, that was the only home that I had. You know what I mean? So, because I'm trying to run away from poverty, I'm running away from physical and sexual abuse. You know, I'm running from all these things at such a young age. And so they're just thinking like, oh, she's, you know, she's dope or she has potential. But they didn't know that, you know, I was actually fighting.
For sure. It's like a place of refuge.
Absolutely. So, shout out to all my teachers that helped me become something, because they became my parents. They became my refuge. They became the people that fed me, put clothes on my back. And so there's a lot of people to continue to honor throughout my journey, and I just don't want to ever forget that. And so, yeah, that was hoop was kind of my outlet, and that's why I was like, I'm not stopping until I, you know, make history. And that happened moments and moments, like over and over and over again. And so that's just where it brought me.
For real, yeah. And I always, like, I've been hearing this a lot lately, but like I've been hearing a lot of people say like sports are one of like life's greatest metaphors. Like it's like the closest, like you know what I mean, like
it never ends though. It's like once an athlete, it's a mentality, you know. And I'm starting to understand that. I see why students and people and kids of color go into athletics, you know. But if we now can change that narrative and utilize it's a mentality versus just the act, like you're not just trying to go to the league, it's like the mentality that you want of a person that's going to be an athlete, then you're able to do it in STEM, you're able to do it in other areas. And so just encouraging our people to, you know, find out what the real cause and the root is of the thing that you're doing in the product, so that you're able to enjoy the process. And then from the process, you're able to create whatever you want. You don't have to just be the athlete. So I think the message is out there that you want to be more than an athlete, but people are not knowing why. And so knowing why will help kind of release us.
I think it's important now more than ever with obviously the mass information era with social media. I think what LeBron James is doing is so important, and it's like, now you see other athletes wanting to mimic that, which is fine. You know, we grew up in a time when obviously we didn't have the internet, right? So we were limited to what we were being exposed to. Yeah, like they were like, it was really like if I wanted to see Kobe Bryant or Allen Iverson, it was like on Slam magazine or on television playing basketball. That was pretty much it. You know what I mean? Or wherever else he would show his face. But I think now more than ever, athletes do have a platform to show that it's more than a game. Absolutely. You know what I mean? And it's tough because you know that is what draws people to you, which is your talent.
Absolutely.
But when you bring them in, you got to show them more. That's
Absolutely.
How I look at it.
Absolutely. And just recognize, you know, through the game, my coach used to say, you know, it's a tool. You know, and so recognize what your strengths are, and then those are applicable skills to go into anything and everything you want. So that's why the game never sleeps, you know.
That's real. I love it, man. I love it. So what was the moment for you? Obviously, being committed to sports as a young, you know, teen is one thing, but then kind of seeing the vision for yourself, right? Because I think I tried my hand at hoop, I ain't gonna lie, and
I'm not gonna lie, I saw your clip, man, and I was like, man, please. And then I was like, oh shoot,
okay,
and then you put the spin on it, and I was like, okay,
you know,
I got you.
Thank you, I needed that. But you know, you know, we all try our hand at sports, but then at a certain point, I knew for a fact, I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to try something else, right?
Mm-hmm.
For you, what was that thing, what was that moment, right? Or was it when you dropped like 60 in a game? Did you do that? No?
16?
60?
Oh,
60
not,
points? You
not
never dropped
60.
60 points? Okay.
Not 60, but I have scored a solid 32.
Okay, I love it. Okay.
Hey.
Well, what was that
100% in the game. You know, I didn't miss a shot.
Oh, okay. Well,
Ooh.
was that moment? Was that the moment, or was it before that? Like, what was that moment when you were like, all right, this is actually working, and I'm seeing progress, and I think I can take this even further than where I'm currently at.
There was that moment, and I remember it was like in high school when there was this coach that like went up at an award ceremony and was like pretty much slamming us, our whole team, you know. And the funny thing is he like got a coach's award, and so I was next, and I got like this athlete of the month or something like that. And I went up there and I predicted, I was like, the next time I see you guys, I'm gonna drop 32 on you. And I had said that, and I actually was sick that game. It was like the Michael Jordan story. I promise you, I had the fever. I stayed in the nurse's office for half the day.
Wow.
Like I was throwing up every like down and back, but I wouldn't miss. And once I was able to start to predict what the games would be, and I could tell people precisely what I was gonna have, I knew I had something.
Wow.
And so that was the kind of like, oh, okay, I'm predicting futures here. I'm about to win a championship. I win a championship. Oh, I'm about to go to the Dome. We're at the Dome. Oh, I'm gonna go D1. I go D1. Oh, I'm about to go play professional. I play professional, not even trying. I actually was there with my husband, and I just started playing dudes.
Wow.
You know, so like when I started to find my mantra and it started just to connect, I was like, oh, I got something here. And then, man,
I mean, the universe is
all.
always listening. That's how I say it.
Period.
So like, yeah, well, just fast forward a little bit. You did bring up the like Globetrotters, pretty much playing professionally. Like, how was that? What was that experience like, especially playing with your husband?
Man, it was an honor. First off, you know, like some people see it as, you know, it's kind of clowning and stuff. But when we got a chance, when we first got the phone call, because we were actually in New York when my husband was going to be drafted to the Celtics, but my cousin Avery Bradley ended up actually getting
Shout
that
out
spot. Right, shout out, and he
shout out
just signed a major deal.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
get it.
Laker Nation, let's get it.
Jeez, I love you, AJ. So we're in New York. We're waiting for the draft, and my husband ended up not getting that spot. So we were like, okay, we're a free agent. That's what it is. And I was done with basketball after college. I was just there to support my husband and just really be there because we were doing the husband and wife thing all throughout college, and it was this big love and basketball story.
You
which
guys
was
were
beautiful.
the love and basketball.
It was
story.
the
You guys
real.
were Sanaa Lathan and Omar Epps.
It was real.
Okay.
It was so real.
Wow.
That's
dope.
when we when he didn't get drafted, that's when we got like this phone call, and I promise you I answered the phone, and it's in the article, like they were like, yeah, we want to draft you and your husband as the first husband and wife in history to ever play for the same sports team. We're like, man, click. Like, we hung up on him at least 3 times, and I'm like, dude, why is this person prank calling us talking about you're now a Harlem Globetrotter? And I was like, man, what the heck? So he was like, no, please don't hang up. Please don't hang up. No, this is real. And we were like, what? They literally sent us FedEx our jerseys to show us that it was real. And we were like, you've been drafted as a husband and wife duo. And we're like, how does that even work?
Yeah.
And so
that's crazy.
Yeah, it was truly a blessing. It was an honor to be able to do that. There was like camps and stuff, but we end up, after being drafted, we were like, let's go to Japan and let's just do this thing, because there's like this practice session, and we were like, you know what, I don't know if this is necessarily for us, but it was an honor to be able to take this as a contract and go, you know, on with life. But we end up signing and going overseas because that's where it was a little bit more lucrative at the time, and so it was a great experience, let me just say that, and it was an honor. But it was just something that was not in the cards for my husband, considering he had the NBA. And although I'm like, that's my gig, I love entertaining, I love people, it was just not the right time, so we couldn't really stick to it like we wanted. But they be having them fat contracts. Let me tell you that. Listen, I will spin a ball on my nose if I got to. Because I was like, you look at that check and you're like, ooh wee.
Yo, I was always curious about that, because
listen, don't let them fool you, man. I will throw a fake bucket. What? Yes, I will throw alley oops all day long. But it was cool. It was it was awesome.
Yeah, no, for sure.
It's dope. You guys made history too, so you know that's another thing. You know, you guys can pretty much say,
God is good. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it's so crazy because the 8th woman in the world that was drafted was my old college state coach, and so Joyce Walker. Okay. Everybody knows Joyce Walker. Yeah. Joyce from Seattle, and so I was the 9th, and so it was pretty cool to just get that acceptance and honor from her too, and just that path. Like, man, that's amazing. Women can do it too, even on men's teams, and so.
Yeah, and I think that may have woke people up too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You know, I ain't gonna lie, like there's some really, really amazing women athletes out there, and I think they don't get enough credit, right? I even remember an episode of Martin. I know y'all remember that episode when they played the USA Olympic team, right? You know what I'm saying?
Lisa Leslie, and he had a cramp.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, was there moments when you kind of like faced, some of that like stereotypical stuff that guys obviously would do in situations like that?
All the time. It just happens all the time, and they don't want to play. The part that pisses me all the way off, so excuse me if I just say a cuss word, but what always makes me mad is that they don't want to play hard defense against you. And I'm like, no, literally, like, D up. Like, I want you to hit me. I want you to elbow me. It's only going to make me better and challenge me. And, man, shout out to Gregory Shadowvine. Man, one of the dopest hoopers to come out of Tacoma and Seattle, Washington, period. He's the one that literally was like, listen, you could do anything a dude does. And he's the one that showed me the game. Literally showed me the game. I thought I was going to be a football player. I was a quarterback going into high school. Like, that's what I wanted to do was football,
Yeah.
But he was like, nah, you could do whatever. And so he never treated me like just a girl, And
that's
so
powerful.
when you have your daughters, I want you to, of course, honor them as a lady and teach them how to be, honor themselves as a woman. But I also want you just to teach them just to go after it, and don't call them the girl that plays hoop. Just call them the hooper. And just like let it be.
One of the teammates.
Don't put like a box around them or something.
No. Like don't have the weakest dude D her up. Have one of the best D her up so that she can like sharpen her game, because we gotta go somewhere. When you guys are not around. And we gotta protect ourselves when y'all are not around. Our men are kings, right? So strap them up, do whatever you got to do to make sure that your women are protected, but that also that they can fend for themselves. So
That's
you
real.
have to give it to them hard, and then we're all good.
Yeah. No, that's real.
Yeah, that's real.
Sharon Miller is one of the best players ever.
Period.
You know what I'm saying?
Period.
She said
Reggie will tell you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She was hooping Reggie all the time.
Yeah.
So,
That's dope, man. I'm glad you were able to share that. And that's just a dope experience overall, right?
Absolutely.
To come from where you started and then to be able to turn a negative into a positive, and now the positive just continues to flow, right?
Period.
As we as we transition out of kind of the basketball space for you, you obviously went into now did you start working for TAF immediately after basketball ended, or?
I didn't. After we played overseas in Greece for a couple years and a couple months and stuff in Cyprus, we came back to the States, and that's when my husband was drafted on his story. And then little one. And then I actually came back into going to guidance counseling into high schools.
Okay.
So I was doing guidance counseling and case management and just trying to find my way. Like, what do I want to do now that hoop is over? I knew we had degrees, which was great, but in what way? And so I went to guidance counseling for a couple years, and then I landed at Taft 2.5 years ago.
Okay. That's dope. And the reason I asked that is because, and I want you to speak to this because, some of the people that listen to this show are athletes, current athletes or former athletes. What was that transit? What are some tips you have for athletes who are transitioning out of just that constant, continuous athletic stage to go into quote unquote real world and try to find something new? What are some tips you got?
Prepare now. Have at least an idea, a game plan, something. I know people are like, oh, don't have a plan B because it distracts you from plan A, but no. But I think having a plan or at least like journaling and jotting down like what is it that you truly desire and what you want, so that you have a trajectory to go after. So it's not just you're wrapped into basketball more than you're wrapped into a skill set, an identity, or whatever that case may be. Because some people are what they do, and it doesn't always have to be intertwined like that. And so making sure that you're really honing in on like what is it that I'm good at, not just even in the game, so that you're able to use those skills to like apply it to something else.
That's real.
Yeah. So, how would you say? How important is STEM? Like especially with the way that the world is going now, like with technology starting to get bigger. Like, I know there's a lot to say about that, but like, what's your take on it?
My take, the reason why I love TAF and why I'm really thankful for having the opportunity to work there is because it is not only supporting STEM, but it's making us challenge the demographic that we are from. It's putting math and science and all these core classes at the forefront for our students and our kids, and making it attainable through project-based learning. So it's mad important to the world that we're creating. And this is the thing, either we can sit back and allow the world to be created around us, or we can be a part of the creation. And so putting our students in the forefront to be the creators and driving what we want the world to see is why I love TAF and why it was a great home for me for the time.
And I'm curious because obviously learning the ropes in terms of guiding counseling before you got to TAF, right? You kind of came in with more of a kind of counseling mindset.
Right.
Now, at what point did you? I mean, I think we all kind of know STEM's important, but at what point did you really see the like how important it really was when you started working there? Like, what was
it? Was instant. It was super instant.
Okay.
And the moment is when I actually went to our first STEM expo. And so anyone that reads about Taft, just know that there's an opportunity for you also to volunteer. I'm gonna big them up to the day I die, right? With Trish DeSico being that visionary and providing that. But I saw it instant when it's STEM Expo was like one of the largest like science fairs that's ever been put on, and everybody in the school has to create something. And so when I started to see students design and create an actual product from scratch, that to me blew my mind as an adult.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've never built something from a sketch to like, here it is.
Yeah.
Not a hat, not nothing, right? So I was just like, wow, that these students and these kids could think of something so outside the box and really physically do it with a couple bucks, you know, or no money, right? And so that to me was the day that I was just like, Taft has something that other schools are not doing with that project-based learning, that hands-on activities to create what these kids see as important. You know, they find a real-world issue, they find something that has or needs improvement, and then they reverse engineer it, and then they create it. And so when I saw that it was not just the product they created, but the way and the method that they did with reverse engineering, that word has been my mantra now. I have the ability, and I was like, how did I create, you know, Greece? How did I create a successful marriage? How did I create all these things? Like, I could never put it all together of like reduplicating what it is that has been successful for me. It always felt like grace of God. It always felt like luck. But I didn't realize once I started to reverse engineer even my own life, I was like, what? Like, I have been creating this the whole time, and thanks to God for being able to open those doors, but I created the what, he created the how. And so these students, they wanted to know what they wanted and reverse engineered, and it became the how. And I was like, dang, what the heck have I been learning my whole life?
Exactly.
I was dribbling a ball.
Right?
Why?
But you know what's crazy?
But it helps.
What's crazy is like with those students is, you know, I think them creating those projects and creating these innovative ideas that they're just coming up with and bringing them to life. One thing that shocks me is, and I think it shocks a lot of people, is that they're the ones who are doing it because they're not seen in the light to be the ones doing that, right? Like, when you think of these type of kids who come from these type of environments, you know what I mean? You just think they're just trying to get by, right? As opposed to like creating apps or creating like they're doing some dope shit.
But isn't that the story of the black individual?
Exactly.
Like, they're not going to say that we created the automobile. They're not going to say we created the light. They're not going to say those things, right?
Exactly.
And so it's easy for that. So that's why every time I get the opportunity to shout out what's really happening in the hood, what's happening at our doorstep, I want to always bring light to it. So I appreciate even platforms like this to be able to tell about the creative black people and the people of color that are doing like mad things in the world.
I was inspired when we went.
Exactly. Because that's crazy that you said that, because I was gonna ask you, like, you know, we do so much to try to inspire our youth, but we never realize like they kind of inspire us, like, while we're trying to inspire them.
Is that what you felt when you guys came and we did that workshop? Was it like a flip? They did flip the script?
I noticed like they weren't like you were saying just right now, like they weren't just like creating to just like create something to get by or whatever, but they were like looking at stuff in their personal lives and like, all right, I'm gonna create this.
Absolutely.
And then that somebody else is probably going through as well, you know, and they're just like, it's all like, it comes from like inside. I was like, man, that's crazy, you know, to realize that at a young age. Me, I'm like, oh,
when I was their age,
that's what I'm saying.
What's going on? Huh? I don't watch the news. I don't watch the news. I don't care. But like, you even said it before we had, and the event we're talking about is the World Is Yours event, where we partner with Vozy. Shout out to Reeve. Shout out Qasim. Like that. I honestly felt like I learned way more from that specific series, you know what I'm saying, and from the youth. But I remember before we did it, you had told us, hey, these are some little adults.
Right.
Like,
don't try to cookie cut my babies, man.
There's
don't
some little
do that.
adults. Like, and I realized that because aside from just the innovation and the STEM-related stuff they're able to do, they're very socially conscious. They're very aware of the world around them. And so when calling them little adults, it's not to say, like, you know, they think they're grown. They actually know some stuff.
They actually know. They literally keep up on, like, issues. And, like, and not only do they just talk about the issues, but they also, the dopest thing is that how do we solve them? You know, they don't feel unempowered to be able to create the change, you know? And so it's one of those missions that like I literally bleed and breathe, and I didn't even know that it was so massively important inside of me. And so when it just became a perfect marriage for me to work there at the time, you know. So
no, for sure. And you did your thing there for sure.
I loved it.
And another thing I want to say is like they know they're empowered, but they're very humble about it.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like,
well,
that's
it just kind of depends on when you catch them.
Well, yeah.
Because
when
I
caught
mean,
'em.
they got swag out. I'm like, don't think that you know. But then I'm like, okay, don't be the black woman that like your husband dunks and then you're like, it was all right. You know? So like, let me big them up. But they were cool. They're super great. And they literally win. They go to competitions around the nation and they just win. And so it's a really dope place to be.
Yeah, I think we don't give the youth enough credit for how much they know, because our generation, you know, we didn't grow up in the mass information age per se,
right.
Whereas they did. They can Google everything. I think even being a parent, it can be tough. Because you might tell my parents used to tell me stuff. I'm like, I don't even fact check them. I'm like, I guess it's true, you know?
Right.
Now you tell some kids some stuff, they go Google that.
No, bro.
You better have your facts straight.
I'd be like, I don't even care who Siri is. Listen, I said so. I don't care what she said.
Right?
Christopher Columbus didn't find it. You know, so but it definitely.
Yeah, they're well aware, but definitely. Taff is amazing, man.
Yeah. So just to switch gears here a little bit. So what's Inner Enso?
Inner Enso was actually inspired from the reverse engineering that I was talking about that I actually learned. So when you were talking about putting the kids at the table and then you actually learned something, that's what I learned. I learned how to reverse engineer my life. And I was just like, if I know how to do this and I can predict no different than what kind of game I was going to have, I can now predict what kind of life that I'm going to have. And so I decided when I had my spiritual awakening, when I had my first son in 2014, that I wanted to find out who I was. And who I was madly important, because then I knew what I wanted to become and what kind of change I wanted to see in the world. And so after I did that spiritual journey since 2014, it came to like its head when I was just like, when I saw Nipsey Hussle. And I know that that's like a overdrawn, it's his birthday today and it seems like it's just cliche, but it really, I'm sitting here watching at work on this huge electronic television, his memorial service, and I was like, why am I not that? You know, why am I not creating something? Why I'm a hypocrite? I'm telling my students that they can become everything, yet I feel like I'm limiting myself, right? Yeah. And so I was just like, I need to do something about it. And that's when I put in my letter of resignation last Thursday to TAF. And it was not because I didn't still believe in the mission, but it was because I knew that there was another mission that God had me on. And he's been telling me that for a long time, that it was time to go into ministry. But I come from a traditional Christian background, but I always knew that my work was to be done out in the world. And it was beyond the walls of the church. And so I never knew what that looked like until God really just opened my eyes one day and was just like, you know what? You have a story. Telling your story is mad important. Yeah. And so anytime you get an opportunity to tell your story, tell it. But don't stop there, because that's when you become ego-driven. And I remember what that was like being a hooper. It's like, it was like, I did that. You know what I mean? But so many times you had to say, well, my team kind of, and that used to bother me too. And I'm like, nah, man, I worked hard for that. But you couldn't shout yourself out. But I understood why. It was to keep your ego at bay. So the Lord was like, not only do I want you to tell your story, but I want you to blow up everybody else's story, because that can be someone else's testimony and healing. And so that's when my husband and I, we literally we're always up to like 4 o'clock in the morning, just meditating and just always conversating. Where I'm like, dude, I want to do something for women, and I want to provide this safe space for women to be able to have these conversations. And I love doing the workshops, and it was super inspiring hearing about you guys' podcast and stuff. And so with all these things combined and all this stuff in a pot, and I was like, man, mix it up. And I went into the kitchen and start cooking, and then out starts to pop out like all these ingredients, and it was like women, it was like inspiration, it was like healing. And I was like, oh shoot, okay, God, I'm seeing it. More meditation. Inner Enso was developed, and it was like, what's Inner Enso? And it's just, Enso means circle. And then inner circle. Gotcha. And how do you want your inner circle to be? You want it to be tight. You want it to be, unwavering. And you guys kind of got that here, and that's what I love, because this is Inner Enso. It's a crew. It's a people. It's connection. It's love. It's compassion. And so I was like, I'm gonna go into a business that most people would think was crazy, and that's the business of giving joy and telling other people's story and connecting people. And so I just wanted to be the biggest plug. I am the biggest plug
Reverse engineer
that the world will ever see. see, and it will be on all kinds of platforms. It doesn't like Inner Enso is not limited by any type of label, but it's a place, and it's a saying, it's a movement, it's a vibe, it's everything.
It's a lifestyle.
And so in Inner Enso is the women's circles that I call Her Enso. Now that is an actual product, you know, and that is an actual place where women will come together and start their healing process to find out who they are, what it is that they want, and reverse engineer their life together as a unit.
I love that too. I love that. I love how you're making it a participative, engaging type of experience, right? Yeah. Sometimes, you know, you got these motivational speakers out here, and it's like, come listen to me talk. And I feel like what you're doing is a little different, where you're obviously someone has to kind of lead and guide and spearhead it,
right?
But you're making people feel empowered and important and in the process, right?
Absolutely. It's important that, you know, even if the Lord, you know, I understand there's leadership and there's someone that steps up and has, you know, some of the visions, but honestly, I still can't even take full credit about this being my vision, right? This is a combination of my husband, my life, my family, my children, you know, so this is my inner circle that has created this thing just out of thin air, you know, and then the putting together and the pieces are the women that create this Her Enso, right? And so as the facilitator, my job is just to usher in the spirit, is to be able to continue to keep us, you know, relevant and thinking and sharp, and also provide some context to some of our thoughts and stuff. But honestly, it's on my website, you know, the women are the experts. And if we stop thinking about other people telling us what we need to do and understand that everything the Lord has, that we've ever needed, is either here on this earth or is already inside of us.
Facts.
And so just empowering the individual to change their own life versus waiting for the outside to change them. And so it's an inner structure.
I love it. I love it.
Wow. Yeah, wow, that was fun.
That's dope. And now you actually had the honor and privilege to actually host one of your
absolutely
what do you call those? I don't know.
Her Enzos.
Her Enzos. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So you had one. Was it last month?
It was last month.
The first one, right?
Yep.
How did that go?
The first one. The launch was. Let me get closer. The launch was insane.
Insane.
God, man, when I tell you, it's funny. When I walked in here, I had told one of your boys, like, I'm so thankful to be a part of you guys' podcast early. I want to see this room. I want to see the building. I want to see everything. I want to see the technology, the laptops, everything. I want to see everything you're using, because when you guys get to that vision that you guys have already have seen, like I can't wait to tell that story for you guys, right? So I kind of had that moment in myself to like reverse and put myself on the table now that you guys are asking, and it was like, I'm so thankful for that one moment. Like, that first one is so precious. It is. Right? I think when I first watched your first podcast, I heard you talking about like that one first one, whether it was like hella bad or not, it was yours, right? This is your room. Y'all created this. Like, y'all, this is your vision as a unit. So when I say it was completely successful, it was not just successful because women showed up, right? But it was successful because they actually connected. Like, everything about our mission happened. Women healed, women cleansed, women, man, they're meeting outside of Her Enso. Like, the whole point of the structure was to do what it was done, you know? So that's a success in itself. And the fact that my main thing about life is just like tackling all fears, and that was a fear of mine, to charge people to come to hear me talk. Right? Like, you're gonna pay me to hear me talk? Like, I have something to say. And so getting over that fear was the thing. So I personally feel like I personally accomplished a lot, but really Her Enso was a success.
And that's I think that's like a common theme we talk about a lot. It's like the imposter syndrome. People talk about that, where you know damn well you worked hard to be in this position, but then sometimes you just tell yourself, like, you psych yourself out thinking, why me?
Right.
Man, maybe I'm just feeling myself right now.
Right.
You know, and like Bobby, DJ Blast, he's put it in best terms, where he said, man, wherever I'm at, you know, is where God wants me to be at that exact moment, and I'm gonna live in that moment. I'm gonna be present. I'm gonna do what I'm supposed to be doing at this moment. So that's dope though, man. I love to hear, because you can't get those first, you can't get those first back.
No.
You know, like I remember the UpNUp launch party, that like, you can't get that moment back. You know, you could just only look back at it. So
right, and you just hope that each one builds on each other. And so when people thought like, oh, that was extremely successful, you're gonna have another one in a little bit, and I'm like, no, I'm about to have one next month. Like, what do you mean? They're like, you already got a date. I'm like, yeah, but they could change, location could change. I'm just gonna roll with the punches, but I'm gonna do this thing because it's about that consistency. And I think one of your boys was saying the same thing. It's like, how many times you guys do this? And he told me the time, and I was like, that's what it's about. It's about that consistency, so that you're at number 47 or 48, whichever one, right? Because each one matters to build on to each other.
That's
so
real.
It's a beautiful journey. I love the process.
Man,
love
I'm
the process.
inspired for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I definitely want to see like how it grows too. You know what I'm saying?
It's about to be massive. Like when I tell you, I've gotten a call from some of I've actually got to sit at the feet, of one of the most amazing elders that has been the what's her Maya Angelou's best friend, Barack Obama's mentor, Oprah's mentor. Like I got to sit at the feet of a 92-year-old woman who is the like driver of all things Black culture here in the States. Like,
wow.
And has for the world actually. I mean, we're at her house in common calls. We're like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, that was common? She was like, yep, I was like,
that's crazy.
Whoa, I'm in the right presence, you know? Like, the Lord just keeps showing me, like, you're on the right path. And every time I start to feel that fear or that doubt for a hot second, something happens. So, you know you're in the right path and when you're doing God's work, you know, but when you also have a vision, you know, and you start and stay consistent on it.
Yeah, that's what it's about, man. Like, you just got to do something that, you know, I always say you got to do something that you're willing to die for. Not to say that you want I
don't want to predict death, but I definitely
when people hear that they get dramatic with it. You know what I'm saying? It's not that. It's just to say that if tomorrow was that day, would you be able to look back and say, I'm happy with what I was doing and how I was demonstrating.
Absolutely. Period. And that's the reason why like resigning from TAF was mandatory and why it's so quick and it's about to it has happened. Do I have somewhere to go and do I have something? Yes, because the Lord says so. But I had to move fast. You know, you're like, if there's anything that I learned throughout my life with losing my father at 4, or my stepfather, my mother, and she was only 20 years old. Life kept giving me struggles, you know, like I lost my brother. I was 8 months pregnant with my first son, and my brother died at 25, you know, so my grandfather died 4 months after my mom. Like, there was just death. Like, if there's anything that I understand is that life is not promised. And so if you're not going to move quick, man, you might as well get out of my lane, because I'm about to go, I'm about to go to 100 on the highway.
There you go. Do it my way.
My way. And I'm not
real.
Nobody else's mission anymore. You know, it's really important to own your own mind, own thoughts, own dreams, and just not be afraid to take that leap, you know. Planned leap.
Yeah, for sure.
Calculated,
strategize.
Calculated leap.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not saying have all the answers. I'm just at least saying have a rough draft and the skeleton of a plan, and just know that you have to be consistent with it.
Yeah. What's our motto, man? Set your pace.
Set your pace. Don't react to the race.
Don't react to the race, right? Sometimes you speed it up, sometimes you slow it down, but the fact is you're the one who's dictating that.
Absolutely.
Right? You're dictating that.
Yeah.
Now, where can people be able to find information about Inner Enso and all the events and things like that? You got a website, obviously, right?
Absolutely. It's innerenso.com, INNERENSO.com.
For sure.
Right when it pops up, you'll see that brown face. It ain't my face. But is it a brown face? But this honestly is an open platform for all women.
Okay.
But I also want to make sure that I do it for the culture as well. And please encourage women of all shades and sizes, shapes, creeds, whatever you got. You know, I want you to come. Yeah. And if finances is an issue, I still want you to contact me anyway.
Yeah.
Because I never want someone to lose out on healing because finances is an issue. I remember being that kid.
Exactly.
And so I'm not saying just contact me because you don't want to pay. Like, let's be real. I need that money.
Yeah, that's real.
But I do want you to contact me regardless because it's important that I feel like everybody deserves, some of the necessities of life, and healing is one of those.
Yeah, you gotta have that energy. You need to know. You need to know who wants to be a part of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's real.
Definitely.
That's real.
Yeah. So.
Now we obviously, before we get our guests out of here, we always give you a chance to kind of speak to some things you have on the horizon. Obviously, you were able to announce the website, but if there's anything else coming up on the horizon for you, your team, people that you want to shout out, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Whatever it is.
My goodness. Free. Okay. Well, first off, my brother in LA. Dab Supply Store. Okay. It's on my Instagram. It's Shaunte SHAUNTE_NJ. I'm always putting them on my store. He makes amazing apparel and clothing. So I'm always absolutely.
Yeah, that's clean.
It's my I got tons of. He has everything custom. He does custom as wavy.
He goes by that wavy.
Okay.
He's like, what is
So,
that?
might be for you.
Right. Also, shout out
Yeah,
to John, my barber. So I'm always gonna give it.
sure,
When a woman finds a good haircut, it's like finding the Lord.
There you go.
So I just want to say shout out to the feminine, cut in the back.
That's right.
So no, as far anything that's going on, I would just say continue to go to the website. It's constantly updated daily.
Great.
And also don't forget about TAF. Although
Yes.
I'm not going to be there, it's still going to be mad important that people
we tapped in.
I see you guys
sure.
all the
We
time on
tapped in.
Instagram.
We
Like,
tapped in,
are we
trust
trying
me.
to get another one? Absolutely.
Yeah, we're gonna make it happen, man.
So,
We're gonna
yeah.
it's important though. It's
Mad
important,
important.
And it's important for our growth and evolution as a platform as well. Because outside of the podcast, we're obviously trying to insert ourselves in spaces that need more culture
We need
cultivated. You know what I'm
black.
saying?
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
gonna say it straight up. We need black men and we need Hispanic men
Okay.
to really come and be a part of it. I'm not saying no one else, but I'm saying specifically that demographic of students is high population Hispanic and high black. And so we just need y'all to show up,
For sure.
come and volunteer. I know you guys got your own stuff going on, but
Yeah.
don't forget to you never know. Your
Yeah.
youth can be running your fan
Yeah.
right now, or
Yeah.
re-engineering your fan if
Yeah.
you like, not just
Yeah.
running it and
we're
pushing
actually
the button.
we're actually kind of plotting on some workshops for like kind of just the media realm for
Absolutely.
you.
That's
So
dope.
definitely, yeah, we're gonna tap in for sure.
But yeah, let me know
Plenty
if you
more
guys
work
ever
to
need
do.
anything.
Oh, for sure.
I want to also bring the female aspect to the podcast.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if you ever need a co-host, just put my plug in right now.
We might have to just get you your own podcast.
Oh, I don't know about
I just want a feature. I just want a cameo.
Okay, I
don't
feel
want
you.
my own
At
thing.
some point, there's gonna be something, but at least I get to reference this,
For sure, for
and
sure.
I just want to shout out and tell
yeah.
Charlamagne, y'all ain't got nothing on the up and up.
Hey.
Hey,
I'm
No,
attacking. I'm
just-
attacking. I'm letting him know you said that. Now, obviously, before we get you out here, we always ask this question to kind of cap off the show, something to kind of sum up what we discussed, as well as just cast what's ahead, man. I know you got a lot of great things coming, but my sister, if you can give me what's one word to describe what keeps you on the up and up,
What keeps me on the up and up?
you could explain it a little bit too.
I'll say God. Finding your creator, finding the connection in to something larger than yourself is massively important. You find God, or you find what it is to you, your creator, then you find a part of yourself. And my best friend out there, she actually told me it's like an L. You get your information from top. He's able, or she, whatever, is able to deliver it to you, and then you're able to deliver it out to the masses. So love being the L, loyalty, all that is a L, So
Wow.
top, down, and you're able to get it out. And so let your cup runneth over to be able to give out to others.
Preach. Amen.
Oh, and
he's
he's already hitting the negative to the positive. He loves that one.
I love how you flipped the L into a positive like that, though.
Yeah.
People's like, hold your L's, take your L's. Like,
We always
connotation. We're gonna
Hey, I'm
change
take
that.
all of them now. I'm like,
let me take my L, because I got God. Give it to me, Lord, so I can give it out. And I think he said another one was just like, I always do my my negatives. Like life
Yeah.
can give you a ton of negatives, and you
yeah.
can't stop from that one, right? But it only takes one decision, one choice, one person to turn a negative, what it is, into a positive. It
That's
is also
facts.
the cross. So
That's
don't forget
facts.
that one. That's my personal one.
No, that's
Shaun.
facts.
Ooh.
That's facts. It transcends. It transcends.
All
But,
day.
I remember that one.
But yeah, Shaunte, man, thank you for coming to the show. Thank you for tapping
Yeah.
in. Obviously, just thank you for the work you're doing and
Absolutely.
going to continue to do, demonstrating, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
keeping the marathon continuing, obviously.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and with that being said, I think it's safe to say Shaunte Nance, Inner Enso, and the whole squad are officially members of the UpNUp. Can we get a round of applause?